All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Monday, June 24th, regular meeting of Town of Easton Planning and Zoning Board. Excuse me. And we are going out live and or being recorded on ECAT. And just in case there's anybody here, the continued site plan review for 250 Foundry Street, Southeastern Regional High School, we received a request to continue to our next meeting, I guess. So just if there's anybody here for 250 Foundry Street, it's continued to our next meeting. And with that, we will open up with our continued public hearing, Full Circle Development, 661 Washington Street. And I know you guys will know to whoever's going to talk, grabs a mic.
Is that already on?
Test.
It smells like microphone.
Yeah, it's just.
They're not, yeah, it's for TV. They're not flashing. So.
Okay.
Just for TV.
Hi, for the record, my name is George Schnee, S-C-H-N-E-E. I'm an architect with offices in Newton, Mass. And I think most of you are familiar with this project. If I might ask if there are people who have not seen this project, it may color my introduction a bit. Is anyone not familiar with this project at all?
When I close my eyes at night, all I can see is that new street.
Me too. So, just by way of background, this project has gone through a portion of site plan approval. The site plans themselves have been approved by this board. And the focus of tonight's meeting is to discuss the design and the exterior treatment in particular of the design. And I think these renderings may be somewhat familiar. The top rendering is a view of the site from Washington Street. The bottom one is also from Washington Street. It's more of a bird's eye aerial view, which shows that we have 4 proposed buildings, and then there's actually a 5th building, which is a small house that is technically on the site, but is being handled kind of separately from this. So we have numbered the buildings. This is building 1 on the right, lower right. Building 2 over here. Mouse problem. This is building 2. Building 3 is a small office building, office/retail building over here in yellow. And then in the rear is a residential building that would contain 22 apartments. The building number 1 on the lower right would be primarily office and retail on the ground floor. Building 2 on the left here would be ground floor retail or commercial space. And then the 2nd and 3rd floor of the front of the building would be 7 apartments. They would be duplexes, most of them. And then there's another portion of the building, I'll show you in a plan in a second, that would be office space. And then, as I said, building 3 would be office and retail, and building 4 is the apartment building. So we've done some work on the facade treatments, and the concept here is that this not appear as a monolithic single building, but is broken down into modules that more accurately would mirror what might happen over time on a street. That is, you may see one building built first, and then an addition, and then another piece. So we're trying to break the scale down, but also give slightly different character to each element of the building. The other thing we've done, though, to make some subtle connections is add a water table that would be in face brick that would go, that red band. I'm having a little problem with my pointer here.
You want me to hold this mic?
Yeah, that would be good, but still it's So this red band would follow along the base of these buildings. You can see it in the top larger scale view. So let me, unless there are any initial questions, let me just show a few more images of, this is looking back at the front, looking out towards Washington Street. The project has, if you recall from the site plan, I have it available on my screen here, so if you want to take a peek back at the site plan. But if you recall, there's a roundabout in the middle of the site, and this is looking back up towards Washington Street. We've created a boulevard effect where you walk in or drive into the site and can rotate around the roundabout. And so one of the things we were asked for are materials, and I'll get to a little more detail on the materials shortly, and also some building heights. So these are the materials sheets. I think I've presented them before. We have added, though, some building heights here. So you can see, oops, that was backwards. Oops, sorry. So the maximum height of the cornice is just under 45 feet. And then we do have some ornamental features, namely towers, that exceed that in certain spots. This would be the tallest building on the site. This is building number 2. And then this is the other tower at the far southwest corner of the site. So that has a tower that's just a little under 55 feet. And then this is a 2-story building where the height's about 34 feet. We have pretty strong floor-to-floor heights. That is, the ground floor is 18 feet, and then we go to a 13.5, 14-foot floor-to-floor on the upper level. Building 3 is a little different because it's a smaller building, but we also tried to break it up in terms of the mass. We didn't really go to town, as you saw in the front buildings, with varying the materials and the modules. It's not that large a building, and we didn't really feel it warranted it. And then the building 4, being the residential building, has a ridge height of 45 feet, and it's a 3-story building. Here our floor-to-floors are much lower, about 10 feet floor-to-floor. So that's kind of the overview of the buildings from a facade standpoint. And then what we did upon request is we were asked for some more detail on the materials that we're proposing. So this is a sheet that deals with the siding. So we'll have a combination. This is a product by Hardy. It's a cementitious siding material. Won't rot. Sometimes we can get pre-finished colors, or it can be painted. We're going to opt for a pre-finished. But it comes in shakes, clapboards, and running stock, meaning sheet stock. It's 4x8, so you can make sort of board and batten panels and things like this. I've learned my lesson using wood trim on buildings, and we're now using PVC and cementitious trim, just for durability. And then the windows. So typically in the commercial buildings, we will have, we're proposing aluminum storefront system, a thermally broken Conair or equivalent system. I will say the renderings show the mullions in silver or aluminum color, but we have opted to propose going with a dark bronze or a darker color to get a little more richness, particularly with some of the brick that we're using. We think it'll look a little less slick, I guess. And then on the residential building, we're proposing an Anderson double hung 200 series, and then on the frontal buildings, a larger scale and another Anderson system, the A series, Both of them are thermally glazed and have muntin options. The roofing, sorry, this is really simple.
Can you use the arrow instead? Try
Yeah,
that. Try
try-
that. Try that arrow there.
That one?
Yeah. Does that move it? Yeah. There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So roofing. As you might remember from the renderings, we're showing some copper roofs on certain elements, gables and towers. So we're proposing an aluminum, pre-finished aluminum, factory finished in a copper penny color. We would not use real copper. It's too expensive, basically. And you know, harder to control the color too. It tends to weather, which I like, but it gets a little bit mottled. And then on the shingle, premium shadow type of asphalt shingle that will give some depth. It's we're proposing this weathered wood color.
Architectural.
Yeah, it's an architectural shingle that they call it high def sometimes. There are all kinds of names for it, trade names, but it will give that appearance of a little more shadow rather than a simple 3-tab shingle, which is pretty flat. And then I have a note on that drawing that says the balance of the low slope roofs, meaning flat roofs, are going to be an EPDM, possibly PVC, but most likely an EPDM. And we're not sure if we're going to go with a white roof or a dark roof. Thinking a white roof, though. And that, but it won't be visible unless you're in a third floor window looking down. And then on the facades, we're also proposing a material that looks like precast concrete or limestone. In lieu of the true stone or precast, which has a great deal of weight, there's a material called glass fiber reinforced gypsum, GFRG, and it's a, basically these are images of buildings that use that material. It does a pretty good job. You can get different textures, different colors. It can be painted and emulates limestone pretty well, or precast, which precast emulates limestone as well. And then face brick, we're looking at a brick that can be used in both a thin brick or modular brick. So down at that water table, I mentioned that there was a horizontal band around the buildings. That would be solid brick. However, as we go up, we're going to be looking at, and I'm not certain we're going to do this, but likely we would use a thin brick, which is basically the same brick. Amazingly, they don't make, this manufacturer doesn't. Most manufacturers don't make thin brick. They actually make full-size, full-depth brick and then cut it. They're set up with molds to make the thick brick, and they get much less cracking and especially warping. They get, I've done a lot of ceramics, so they get differential drying, and it gets tricky. Anyway, so it's a Belden Century Red brick, and it's a, got, if you like, I can zoom in, but it has some pretty good texture to it. Yeah. And then for exterior lighting, so on the left is the landscape bollard that was already approved as part of the site package for the lighting. The 3 lights on the right are some options we're considering for building lighting associated with entrances, something kind of smallish scale that will give some light down at the human scale level as opposed to site lighting.
We might actually use a combination of those as well.
Yeah, we might. Maybe not on the same building, but where we have different facade treatments, we may alternate some of that lighting standard. And then these 2 are more utility lighting, loading docks and certain areas that may need a little higher security lighting. And then this is a light that's proposed for the monument sign, which I'm also going to talk about in a moment. Signage. So what we're proposing to do here is something quite similar to what was done down in Hingham, which are the images on the left.
Top left, right?
Well, actually, all of them.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
I'm not sure about the Cold Stone, but I think that one actually, I
Yeah.
also pulled from that. So an individually illuminated LED channel letter, no box signs. Our standard would allow different fonts and different colors. However, we would limit the height to 30 inches, 36-inch maximum letter height. And I do note on this drawing, colors and logos may vary. For example, the check mark, if Ed, was able to land Verizon as a tenant, we were hoping that a deal breaker would not be that they can't get their red check logo. So that's kind of I would say a fairly high-end sign. I guess the higher end would be a halo illuminated sign and facelit. We're not proposing that here. But a much lower version in my mind are signs that are mounted on boxes or raceways or panels, and so and we're sort of on the elevations we've drawn or written the word signage, and you'll see it seems to work well. And then the monument sign, which is located near the entrance to the plaza, featuring the same brick that would be used on the building, basically all the same materials that would be used on the buildings, but more brick. The copper roof on the top, simulated copper roof on the top. Here, however, I did propose a halo illuminated letter for the Full Circle Plaza words. And then these would be a screen printed panel that would be interchangeable, and as opposed to the big, the plastic panels. And that would be lit with those, these are shown in the rendering as a gooseneck, but it would be that light that I just showed you on that other sheet. Slightly more contemporary and a little less intrusive, I guess you could say. And so that concludes the exhibits that we have depicting, I think, all of the materials and elements that were asked about, with the one exception of paint colors. We don't have that tonight. We really want to get the less malleable materials accepted before we enter that realm of color. Paint can change very easily, and yet a brick can't, or some of these other materials are more or less variable, I guess. So we like to get the building materials established. I mean, we're generally, though, leaning towards the colors that you're seeing in the renderings. I think
Yeah, 100%.
Ed's happy with them,
Yeah.
and again, trying to get a variety, nothing too garish. So maybe I'll go back up to that.
Page one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are looking to keep the colors identically to what you see here. We just don't have the actual color swatches to give you those numbers through, the company we're going to use. But they will be those colors.
Okay. You guys all set?
With the red being the brick, the copper being those materials are the ones that I was saying,
Already set.
are going to get set. We'll adjust to beige.
Sure.
I think that's good.
Okay,
Throw it
thank
out to
you.
questions.
Stephanie, do you have anything this go around?
No, at this point.
Anybody on the board? Questions, comments?
I mean, I guess I'd like,
You had your chance, I'm sorry. No. I was kidding.
it just, the monument light seems,
Monument light?
the monument light,
The sign I showed for
which is the sign, so if you could. I mean, I'm leaving the materials and everything up to the board.
That top sign light?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how it would,
Can you go to the monument picture itself, if you don't mind?
the monument what you're showing, of course, are the two goose lights, but is this going to be a centered light with
No, there would
the two
be
lights
two of
pointing,
them.
two of them?
Two of them with two heads.
With two
per-
of them with two heads?
Yeah, what I was trying to do, actually, and was avoid having to light every panel. So the sign panels, I wanted to illuminate externally as opposed to internally. Because sometimes you get like a red with and a blue, and it gets a little cacophony, you know, just busy, and I think not so classy when you have those lower tenant panels being lit. So that's where that light.
I'm just wondering what type of light it casts down, and with the, so you'll have two double head
Yeah.
lights casting down.
Was your concern more the light fixture itself, or not having the panels illuminated on their own?
Oh, no, I don't mind
Downward lighting?
the downward lighting.
Okay. So would you prefer having the panels unlit and have it downward
Oh.
lighting? Is that what you're saying, or?
That's what it is.
No, I was just asking, that's what it is, but we did that for that reason, because we didn't want to have the panels all lit up different colors.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
You're concerned the fixture itself?
Yeah, it's the fixture.
Just the type, whether it's a real.
And I'm going to leave it up to the board. I'm not,
Okay,
I'm not,
sure. Board members, anybody? Questions, comments?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I appreciate that the monument signs would be, downlit rather than internally illuminated.
yeah.
On building 3, just the east elevation looks a little sort of,
Which elevation?
building 3 east elevation. It just looks a little sort of like it's compared to the rest of the other buildings. Seems like it's sort of missing something at that
Yeah,
bottom.
so
I know.
that's the facade that faces the gas station.
Right.
And we do have a landscaped buffer in front of that. So building 3 is a bit of a challenge on that facade. It's a skinny building, it's only 40 feet wide. And so what we've done is we've located the core functions, the bathrooms, and not the elevator. The elevator's on the corner, on that tower on the left, upper left. But so we have kind of some utilitarian spaces across the back, electric room, sprinkler room, egress stair. So that is why you're not seeing windows there.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose with the right landscaping, then that would, I was sort of picturing, of course, you're going to maintain your building better than the existing white building.
Yep.
But, that one has landscaping, per se, in front of it, yet it still looks more or less sort of like.
Keep in mind, this one has has a fence 10
Right, yeah,
feet off
oh, the
it,
fence
runs the
there too, right,
whole,
yeah.
because we kind of discussed this.
Yeah, also, right, also, the view from 138, it will be impeded because you're going to have, if you're coming from the north heading south, you really won't see it until you get in front of the gas station. The gas station is going to block more than half of
Yeah,
it.
with the fence, I suppose, then
Yeah.
it would really be sort of.
And eventually, hopefully, when you buy the gas station, we'll put more beautiful
Yeah,
buildings in front.
That would be the ultimate goal.
On the, do you have a south elevation for that building? Just from a picture of like what would face, because there
So
are
I
parking
think the
spots on
south,
that
that's the
side, right?
south elevation right there on the right. That, you can see that right-hand side?
Okay, so that's what's
That-
facing, so that's facing Depot Street?
Yeah, that's facing Depot Street, that's correct. Yeah, those windows are facing Depot
So
Street.
would there be signage on that side?
There'd be no signage on that side, no.
But there are parking spots on that side?
There's no parking
Oh, no,
spots,
no,
it's just
that's
landscape.
right up.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, right there, okay.
There's a,
Yeah, it's just landscape.
there's a lawn and an electrical device.
And then with the, if any like HVAC or other equipment on the flat roofs, or are those hidden somewhere?
Yes, up top,
So those are in the
in the parapet.
taller area?
Yeah.
Okay, yep. Okay, that's all.
Deb, do you have anything?
I would concur with Stephanie in that I actually, the goosenecks that you show in the rendering are somewhat more of a slim gooseneck. It's not a really wide. But I think it's fairly classic and fairly simple, so I would share that. I would also agree with you in that you have a mix of buildings, and so you might want a mix of lights. I'm not sure if I think the 3 that you happen to choose at this stage are in the same, they seem like they speak different languages to me.
Okay.
So I would just maybe put a little more consideration into that. And then the actual freestanding sign, is that, if you go back to the,
Just,
I think one of the first couple of images, is it kind of midway in the rightmost building that faces Washington Street?
So it's to the right of the entrance as you pull into the, whatever, what we call that, not a causeway.
The little
boulevard.
gateway.
The boulevard,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
it's to the right of that.
And it looked like, you said it was standing seam, but it looked like it was dark, so were you going to do a different color
no,
standing
it just
seam
didn't
there?
render. That
Okay,
that
so you're
didn't
gonna
go
do
through the rendering.
copper
That's a
there,
copper
okay.
roof and labeled accordingly. And the monument sign is labeled S on the site plan here, so it's just to the.
Okay, yeah, I thought I saw it
yeah,
in the elevation, but it wasn't a,
You
okay.
did, you did.
Yeah,
it's
Yeah,
right-
it's hard to
right
see,
there.
but
Yeah.
it's there.
and
Go back to that if you don't mind. Yeah, it's right
Yeah, well-
over here
yep. Okay,
with a copper roof.
okay.
That was rendered.
Yeah, yeah, I just,
That one went through
I
the
was
rendering
just curious if
engine.
you were doing a different color there.
No.
No.
And then on the smaller building that the back abuts the gas station there, I know we haven't talked about it a lot because I think you do have a lot of interesting breakup of the facades in the other buildings. And so in a way, I think keeping it simple, it doesn't compete as much with the other ones. So I generally agree with it. But I was thinking about if you go to the one you were first on of just the, yeah, that one. What if maybe just that middle section,
Was a different color.
yeah, or just maybe had a slightly subtle variation, just so that it's a little bit in keeping, not, I don't know, so that would be my comment. And then, right.
It would help the back, definitely.
Oh, that was the other thing I was gonna say. So did you say there was a fence probably 7 feet off of it?
And I think-
Looks like it's about 10 feet.
10 feet off of
See it
it?
right here.
But that whole
So I
second
mean-
floor is still sort of sticking over the fence, sort of.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if it's, I guess, once you propose the landscaping, maybe it could be thought about, but I did think like you could probably do some, you know, trellises or maybe some sort of, you know, not necessarily, you know, maybe even some sunscreens that really wouldn't be serving any real purpose, just to add a little element, some element that's not completely dependent on the landscaping.
I think if we did a
Better.
different shade of that color to break it up maybe, but I actually like it all that one color because I think to your original point, it really doesn't take away from the other building. It kind of does, you know, stand alone by itself. Another thing too to think about this building is it faces Depot Street, and one of the things that we really wanted to take a lot of pride in this project is keeping that feel of the neighborhood. And I think keeping it all one color, you're coming through by houses there and then pulling in, so it kind of gives a more of a, I think, of a homey look than having, you know, multiple colors or grades of material on it.
I think more of a subtle.
Yeah, of that same
Because-
yellow.
Yeah, because
like just a shade or
that whole
something.
dimension,
Yeah.
like what's the dimension of that entire,
30 feet, 25 feet. The
that
width
faces
of,
Depot?
oh no, 40.
Yeah, so,
You mean the end elevation, 40, yeah. It's got the tower, though, the
Right,
the
right.
hexagon.
well, just something to, I mean, as you continue to develop these, just something. And I agree with your storefront dark color,
Yeah.
I think that'll,
Does it?
yeah.
You went, right? You guys, anything?
All set.
So, just go to the signage for a second, just so I'm clear, when we're writing a decision, if and when we have a vote. So,
The
Is
building
it safe-
signage or the monument?
the building signage, is it safe to say that the signage will be halo lighting or channel letters?
Channel letter.
Right,
Face
one of those two. I mean, that
Yeah.
should cover,
Yes.
going back in discussions we've had previously, I mean, that way, yeah. So,
Yeah, the only halo that's proposed in this package is just the upper sign that says the address.
right, but I would think if
Name
you had a
and address.
package of
That's on the monument.
channel letters, right, but if a tenant came in and wanted halo letters, I don't think he'd be
We wouldn't be
opposed to that,
opposed to it. I mean, I think slight personal preference is to not mix it too much, just for busyness.
you think they don't work together?
No, I think they can. Those two can.
Yeah, I mean, I just hate, if someone wanted to go that way,
Right.
I'd hate to.
Yeah. As
I think we'd want to steer them in this direction, then.
Right,
Yep.
right, so, I think just so we can set something in
Yep.
the, because we can have all these plans and all this, but it gets lost sometimes. So
Right.
if it's ever an issue, we can just look at the decision. And I think, to Stephanie's point on the lighting, I guess, and to Deb's point on the building, first I want to thank you guys. It's been a pleasure to work with you. You've been very, very receptive, and I think what we're looking at now, I think we can all be proud. We've all worked hard at it. It's your work. We can't take the credit for it, but it's nice. It's nice that we spend a lot of time here as volunteers. It's nice.
It's been a
hear that.
great collaboration.
So I think, and you know what, though, some of us are designers here, and I always hesitate. I think to Stephanie's point, yeah, I think I'd rather see that light on the sign probably look a little better as maybe the more traditional kind of gooseneck. But I think we can, I don't think we need to change a plan for that. I think we can just, we're going to be talking a lot, on this. And then same, to Deb's point too. I mean, we've discussed this before. I look at it and I'm like, the back side of that building, because it's right on top of that fence, and it's a small, slender building. You need some places for support. And I get, that makes sense to make that sort of the back non-viewable part of the building, with not a lot of windows and the such, because that fence is right there, and you're looking right at the back of the gas station, which isn't the prettiest rear elevation. And in terms of color, I just want to be careful that we don't, I think we can listen to the feedback we got here, but, I think we'd probably all agree you're kind of on the right track, and I just want to make sure we don't impede too much, if that, for what that's worth. But, in the spirit of that, wouldn't you rather live in a village than a plaza?
So
This is the first time I ever saw Full Circle Plaza.
yeah,
We
so-
need to work on the branding, and that's not this
the
board.
name, so the name was just thrown up because that's the name of the
Yeah,
project.
I mean,
Full Circle?
I don't want this to
Yeah.
sound like an LLC.
That's
so-
not the final name of the
Hey,
project.
please,
Yeah,
please.
we can assure you.
That will be in the decision.
I wrote it down.
Did you? Yeah, that's just up there because it's
All
the
right, I
name
will.
of the project.
Right, but,
Yep.
yeah, let's, I'm assuming at this
We
point,
will be coming back to you.
you've worked so hard,
announce
I know that
later. Yep.
you'll,
Yeah,
Although I do like the address right there, so people will know.
yeah, that is a
They're
nice
looking
picture. I agree.
so, so is there anybody in the audience? Forgive me. It's been a long day, folks. I started at 2 a.m. If you want to speak, just please grab a microphone and name and address and ask away. You absolutely
Have
do.
to
Then they'll know who I am and where I live.
That's the price of doing business around here.
Harold Gershman, 243 Foundry Street. I didn't come for your meeting, I came for the 250 Foundry Street. But I was just curious, living in the town my whole life, I thought that area had septic issues. And there's a pond right behind there that actually flows down to Shoddy Mills. Has that been addressed?
Yes,
So all of
that
the-
will be addressed. So the sewer has been finished in the Creaset Commercial District, and the
They'll
applicant,
connect to that?
and the applicant's plan is to bring the line down.
I just knew that issue, that
Yep.
area was an issue.
Thanks for the question.
Yep.
Is there anybody else in the audience? Okay, so,
Greg, can I just ask one other?
of course.
So, are there any signage, the channel letter signage, that if you're in the residential apartment buildings will be in a very Well, I mean, I'm not sure what the proximity is from, like, say, your residential
light onto
window
the-
to,
It's a long one.
It's across the entire inner,
okay, so there isn't any, like,
but there is signage that may happen on that facade. We happen to show one in the lower left.
But there'll also be some landscape out front of the other building as well.
That rendering appears to be pretty much at the front corner, the front southwestern corner, right, of the building?
Yeah, so that's probably still,
Southeastern.
that rendering's probably still like 15 feet off of the building, but it's to the left. 15, 20 feet off that building.
So here's the residential building in the lower left here. So you're across the entire inner, drive aisle, parking. So there's some landscaping.
Microphone, please, sorry. I saw the light. They can't hear
Oh,
me.
sorry about that. Yeah. So this is the residential building in the lower left, and it's across this parking area, the circle.
yeah, so
The
you've got
full
a pretty
circle.
good, yeah, you've got a pretty good amount of
Yeah,
space there.
it's about-
Just given that we're
Over 100
not really
feet.
that urban in Easton, and so.
Right. I mean, I think the objection would come from marketing people, and if they have issues renting it for that reason.
No, I think that's a good question, and I think there is quite a bit of distance there, and the trees, the vegetation will help too. And, in a project this large, on both ends, we'll probably be tweaking things as we go anyways, as we learn, but,
That's it. Yeah, thank you.
so, Stephanie, so this is just architectural approval, that's all we have, right? That's all we have open, so. And, so would you like us, or is this site plan review,
Well, it's,
How do we do?
it's,
Right, and so is this a public hearing?
It
it
is.
is a public hearing, right, right.
So, would you
So
like us,
it's essentially like a modification to
Right.
the site,
would you like us to
the
close the
special
public hearing?
permit.
I would entertain a motion for such.
Motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Anybody else care to make a second motion? Say, for example, to approve. Sounds like. Trying to move things along,
I'll make that motion as well, to approve the architectural design.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll get you the decision within 90 days.
Faster than that, it will be faster than that.
We'll get it to you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate all the.
Don't forget our invites for the big groundbreaking. With shrimp, I hope.
For the what? What did he say?
Under $50 worth of shrimp, that
Our
is.
invites for the
All right.
groundbreaking.
Oh, groundbreaking.
Next up, Goodspeed Estates, modification to a special permit, Backcut LLC.
Okay. So
We have a
let's
notice of public
retry this and see if
Do
this
we?
will work.
All right, Peter will read us in.
Oh, it was continued.
Okay, Town of Easton, notice of public hearing. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 41, Section 81-T MGL, the Easton Planning and Zoning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, June 24th, 2019, at 6:30 PM in the Mary Connolly Room,
June 23rd,
Easton Town Offices,
right?
136 Elm Street, North Easton, Massachusetts, on the application from Backcut LLC for a modification of the special permit issued pursuant to 235-37 Flexible Development Bylaw of the Easton Town Code that authorizes the construction and layout of the project known as Goodspeed Estates for the following addresses: 4, 8, 12, 20, 23, 27 Goodspeed Lane, Assessors Map 35U, lots 60, 61, 62, 64, 66, and 67. A copy of the application and plan may be inspected at the Planning and Economic Development Office, 136 Elm Street, Northeastern Massachusetts, during regular business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed application and plan should appear at the time and place designated for the public hearing. This notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org. Gregory Strange, Chair.
Thank you, Peter. Okay. You know the drill?
I know the drill.
Floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and other members of the Easton Planning Board. My name's Michael O'Shaughnessy. I'm here tonight on behalf of Backcut LLC. As some of you may remember, this is a special permit under the Flexible Development Bylaw. We created 8 lots with 9 units. The first lot had a duplex unit that would have 2 affordable units in it. One of the changes we're requesting from the board today is to reduce the number of affordable units from 2 to 1 in the duplex, and what we want to do in turn is to convey parcel B, which is next to parcel C, which is a condition of the original approval anyways, to the Easton Conservation Commission or whatever entity wanted to hold it. For those of you that were here, you may recall there was some back and forth whether that parcel B was ever intended to be included in the whole project or not. Someone had suggested, and I don't remember who it was, that maybe we add an extra affordable unit. That's what we did at the time. Times have changed. The developer wants to convey the back lot, parcel B, to the commission in exchange for reducing the number of affordables from 2 to 1. Parcel B is a 5-acre parcel. It's contiguous to parcel C, which is contiguous to the large open space parcel. It's consistent with the purpose and intent of the bylaw. Even with the reduction from 2 to 1, we're still within the confines and requirements of the bylaw. The other issue we're looking for tonight is to modify the property lines between lots 7 and 8. There's an A&R plan that's before you. I apologize, I don't have it. Easel with me. Lot 7 and 8 were the 2 lots in the rear, and there was a common driveway that came up from the cul-de-sac that serviced both of those. If you look at the sketches I handed you, originally it was a straight shot from the cul-de-sac. We're now kind of making a little zigzag in it. And the purpose and intent of moving the property line is just to create some more room behind this house, so if someone wanted to put a pool or something back there, they could. Associated with that change is a change in the grading. The grading itself did not change. It still goes from elevation 130 to elevation 123. It's on the highlighted sketch I showed you. It's really, on one side of the road there's less grading, on the other side there's more grading. The last change is on lots 2 and 3. If you folks recall, if you've been out to the site recently, the roadway's completed, everything's grassed. Looks pretty nice down there, actually. But there's an obvious hole in the ground under the Town of Easton Conservation Commission local bylaw that was considered an isolated land subject to flooding. We'd like to fill that in and match the grades. That way the whole site there is level. We were before the Conservation Commission 2 weeks ago. They issued a permit for work in an order of conditions authorizing the same, and the only difference between the plan they approved and the plans you see here is it was suggested that we put a trench drain down the back to here to take care of any runoff, which we did. If you look at the comments from Andrea Langhauser, she makes note of that to you guys. And after this hearing, again, before you is an A&R plan for your consideration. Again, we're just moving the property line a little westerly just to create more land in the back here for lot which is called 8A, and take away a little bit from 7A. And I just want to have a brief conversation, if I may, at the end after we answer any of your questions. With respect to the architectural requirements, there's a condition in the permit that says the housing has to resemble traditional New England housing. I'm just looking for some input on what features you folks may be looking for or anticipating. So if anyone wants to build a house there, we can say this is the stuff they're looking for. Obviously, you guys have plan approval anyways, but it'll save a step for someone who's coming in. That's all I have, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, well, that was a lot. So, correct me if, all right, so help me out here. So one of the things we're gonna discuss is the affordable unit and the piece of land.
Yeah, that's the, okay.
Second is an A&R for here. Was that the same A&R you just talked about? Or is
that was the same
same
A&R,
one,
right.
okay. Then there's the isolated land subject to
Lotting,
Lotting?
right.
right. And then something about architecture at the end, right? Did I get all that?
You got all that.
All right. So I'll start off with since I was the party who came up with a fantastic idea to do. So parcel B. So parcel C, the town already has. Is that correct?
Yes,
That's- okay.
under the yes.
Yeah. So parcel B, as you called it, that is all of the remaining
Correct.
upland. So for our new members or for our old members who might not recall, the original, as we got going on this, on this allegedly collaborative process on this project, we had one affordable unit, and we had basically parcels B and C, and I think even some more land going to conservation or being, right. And then somewhere along the line, at the 11th hour, suddenly parcel B wanted to be pulled out by the developer, by the applicant, which was a curveball. And so we sat down and through a discussion, came up with an agreement to add a second affordable unit. And then as I understand it tonight, so now we're looking to get rid of that second unit. So the only reason I bring up this brief history is so that the folks that weren't here would understand that by doing this, personally, I don't consider this, reneging on the original, by going to one affordable and giving this 5 acres plus of uplands to the town, that goes back to where we had started originally and is in keeping with the whole flexible development. It's frankly, it's what we wanted from the get-go. So we wanted more open space. So I just for folks at home, I just want people to go, well, how come he gets to pull one off the table? It was a negotiation, but what they took away, they're giving back. So
that sums it up.
that goes back to where we were originally for quite some time. And the A&Rs, I guess, am I missing anything in the A&Rs? They seem straightforward, right?
No, correct. I do think the order of things on the A&R, because they're seeking a modification to the common driveway associated with the change in the lot lines that the board should, and it's just procedural, if you agree. And again, there's no reason not to endorse the A&R. It meets all the dimensional requirements. But you do that first, and then consider the common driveway and approving that. And I agree with the chair's conclusion that offering the land in lieu of the additional affordable housing, again, goes back to what we thought the board was originally going to receive with this the original subdivision application.
So so are we covered agenda-wise with the process you were looking for?
Yes.
In terms of the comment, okay.
Yes.
Question, Chris?
What lot is the affordable housing?
It would be lot 1. It's on the plan I gave you. I colored it in green. Yeah, that's where the duplex unit would go.
1 and 2?
It's a duplex unit.
Okay,
Originally, it was both units.
So both.
gotcha.
Right.
And I actually think that will help with ensuring that the affordable units.
Someone doesn't have a
affordable
microphone
unit-
on.
Sorry, Wayne. I think that will actually help with the affordable unit
qualifying for the SHI, because then there will be no discernible difference between the non-affordable, the market rate and the affordable.
And by the affordable calculation in the flexible development bylaw, only one was required for this amount of lots.
Correct.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 10%, and we round up at 0.4. So that's where, and it's a bonus. It's in addition to.
And then on the A and R, so an A and R is still required in addition to the modification of the special permit.
It is, because we're changing a property line.
And are there, well, it's obviously a public hearing, but is there a new set of plans for the subdivision showing the new lot lines?
We're just doing it as an A&R plan.
Okay, and then so there's a new set of plans showing the fill in the lots 2 and 3 and the grading there?
Yes, there is a plan that I filed. It's, I apologize. Right here, he's just matching the grades on either side of where we were proposing to fill it before.
Okay, so that's been uploaded?
It has.
Yeah, why don't you ask about this thing? That's a good question. If there's a plan for that.
Maybe I'm on, hold on, let me just get my...
Can you show again which line's moving?
This is the cul-de-sac. There's two lots in the rear. Cedar Drive is over here. The line between, for the driveway.
Yep, and then the parcel B, which would be going to the town under the modification, is
Yes.
This is no plan showing, is there a plan showing that too? Or,
There's no plan showing.
no, is there a plan showing that
The original,
parcel B?
Yes, I provided you with the original A&R plan that created
Oh, okay.
parcel B and parcel A, parcel A is the project.
So is that, because I know, because these are old plans, I see, right?
Yeah.
Is that sufficient for what we would need?
What are we going to sign,
Yeah,
I guess is my
yes,
question. I mean,
because-
yeah, it's like,
the deed, and we'd need to see the deed would need to be written such that it would be Article 97 land, and it would need to reference that A&R plan as being the
Correct.
parcel that's being conveyed.
And the notation backcut LLC would have to come off, and a notation not a buildable, it needs to be similar to what parcel C said in the plan, I would think, right? I mean, if they're both going to be, see, do you have,
I have to
I'll
pull
show
it,
you.
I had it up.
take my little fanny pack here?
In the original A&R, were you ever proposing
Brought tonight.
anything built there to begin with? It's just that it could be buildable?
For parcel B,
Yeah.
I think they were looking to maybe buy one of the houses along Summer Street and maybe try to get another 2 or 3 lots out of it, but
Parcel right there.
I think that was the intent at the time.
Okay,
Yeah.
But there is upland there.
okay. And the property line that you're just adjusting a little bit to accommodate the new shared driveway that property still has all of the appropriate frontage and so
Yes.
forth? Okay, yeah. All
Yes.
right.
The driveway is just moving slightly west. correct?
West, right, in the middle, right.
So, Stephanie, are we going to handle this sort of all as an omnibus, or are we going to vote?
No, I think they need to be voted individually.
So let's, so we can clean this up a little bit. So let's take the first one, the parcel B. Anybody in the audience have any questions on that, first of all? Any board members anymore? So anybody want to make a motion so we can get that off the table?
I'll make a motion to approve, what would we call that exactly?
Like the donation?
Changing from 2
I
affordable
think,
housing lots to 1.
I think eliminating one of the affordable units
So eliminating one of the affordable units and
Parcel B, getting
in
donated.
exchange.
getting parcel B donated to the town.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, that passes. All right, so now common driveway. Well, we're doing that first, or A and R, I forget what you said. Forgive me.
Well, yeah, no,
We have to do the A and R
I think you
first.
do the A and R first
Yeah, have to do the A&R
because
first.
there's, there may
So do you
not
have
be
any
a-
questions or comments on that? Anybody in the audience?
What's an A&R?
Approval not required.
Change the lots lines.
And-
It's ironic
Right,
because
yeah.
we're approving it.
So
All the- all
if a
the-
neighbor's garage were on your property, that you could file an A and R, make a deal with them and file an A and R so that, you know, you could change the property line so that, you know, if you wanted to make a change to the property line with your neighbor, it's sort of like that.
And all it means is that the lot complies with the zoning.
I'll make a motion to approve the A&R plan, moving the property line slightly west.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? It's unanimous. So now, common driveway. Any comments from the audience? Board members, any
Yep.
questions?
Would you like to retroactively close the public hearing?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you do.
Public hearing. Forgive me.
Motion to close the public hearing, if the applicant would so
Please.
desire. Yes.
Please.
Second.
All those in favor? All right. So just, ECAT, slice that, cut that, put that 2 minutes. Common driveway.
That's
Oh.
also a special permit, so you need to close that hearing as well.
Oh,
That's confusing.
yeah, we only had it down as one.
No, what the heck?
Yeah, this is, okay, so this, motion to close the public hearing for the modification to the common driveway special permit.
A second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Unanimous. All right. You're on a roll.
Motion to approve the change, the modification to the special permit for the common driveway.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? That was one heck of a case of deja vu.
Hold on, we have the change to the grading.
Yeah, oh, I know it.
Yeah, okay,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, we're just gonna keep going on this one. Very paper-conscious lawyer, though. I only brought in like two
That
eight
one
and a
you
half
only
by
have
11s.
up there.
Good luck figuring this out in 50.
The drawing you only have up there for the drainage.
That was uploaded.
What's the name of it?
It's called the
Wetland relocation.
Plan.
Got it.
Sounds like a government program,
Right?
doesn't it?
So this is just a change to this site plan, really?
Yeah, this is
Right,
for that hole that was there. They got approval
Yeah.
from Concom to fill it, so it's
Right,
basically
right.
a grading change.
The area
Yeah.
was acting as a natural stormwater collection basin.
Well, motion to approve the change to this site plan, allowing the filling of the hole between lots 2 and 3 as depicted on the submitted plan.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion passes. All right.
Slate hole.
That takes care of all that, other than your architectural question.
Yeah, the architectural question.
So, anybody can answer this, but I would say this, that to start. When we looked at this power flexible development, the reason that, how we introduced it to the town, how we sold it to the town, was an opportunity for developers and the town, through its appointed planning board and the planning staff, to sort of collaborate on a project to try to better meet or more easily meet goals of the master plan. So in the case of a residential flexible development, in this one in particular, where it has really three I think I'd say 3 diverse types of lots, kind of broken up in thirds. I think we viewed it as a unique opportunity to create sort of maybe some village housing, houses on smaller lots like in the older parts of town, assuming it probably would be smaller homes that would sort of fit into scale. Maybe, especially, I remember we had talks about how Center Street and many parts of downtown in the village are dotted with what you would commonly call a balloon frame structure, which is instead of your typical 2-story, box colonial 2-story home. If you look at a lot of the older homes around here, the gutters, the roofs start sort of right in the middle of the second floor window. And that was based on the lumber that they had available back in the mid to late 1800s and the scale that they lived with at the time. But so, a lot of the houses in those, on the smaller lots are keep the human scale in mind in terms of smaller lot. The thought is, you'd probably have a smaller home than, for example, lots 8 and 9, which are on the corner. It's not really the job of this board to, we're not, even though some of us are designers, we're not here to design, we're not here to, in design is subjective, but I think, at least for me personally, how I look at it is when we review designs, are they beneficial, in keeping with the neighborhood scale? Do they think of if you look at different parts of the master plan and the wording of the flexible bylaws that we have, does it help with maintain Easton's rural character? And I'd say our rural character are a lot of open spaces dotted with houses, but that are in scale. They're not towering, they're not homes that wipe out any view from their neighbor. They kind of fit the lot. And there's a level of detail. I don't know what that detail is. That's for the designer or the architect or the project's owners to decide. But Easton certainly benefits from grand buildings like this. We're not saying you have to build this, but there's lots of different types of diverse architecture in this town, old and new. So the thought was that in return for this density bonus and all the other things that are beneficial to the property owner, that one of the town gets open space back, the town gets diversified housing. The hope was we would also get aesthetically pleasing houses. And that is something I might think is great, the rest of the board might hate, but if the time's put in, if the thought's put into the design, I think that adds to the value of the community, and it adds to the value of the property. So, I don't know if any of that makes any sense, but that's kind of how I think of it.
I get it, yeah. No, but there's no specific features, you're the scale,
Right.
everything
No,
like that.
and to me, and you know what it isn't? It's, to me, is not someone has a plan, and oh great, I don't have to pay for that plan because I already saw that house built, and to me, they look at the lot and you think of where parts of a house people want sun, parts of a house people maybe want shade. A garage and a bathroom tend not to have lots of glass in it, and not important glass. So maybe those go towards the north side or towards sort of that building we were just looking at in Full Circle Plaza. Had to get that one up. And the back of that building, if you look at it on its own, oh geez, there's no detail, there's no windows. But when you look at kind of where it fit on the site. Anyways, what do you guys think? That's my long answer. I'm done.
Well, I'd like to just chime in and say that I think it's important to be mindful that there are a couple of very long, well-established neighborhoods that are literally abutting this and are in the backyard is facing these houses. And I think it's often a very difficult task for a new home to really maintain the scale of older homes. But I think it's important to be mindful of the heights and the roof pitches and so forth. And I think that while many of those houses were just fairly basic, standard, classic homes, not all with a whole lot of architectural detail, that it might be nice to just be mindful of some of the characteristics which are mostly gabled roofs, like, you know, mostly wood-sided, mostly double-hung windows. So I don't know that we're recreating those homes or anything. Like Greg said, we're not here to give you design direction, but I mean, my thought is if we're putting a whole bunch of homes essentially in the backyards of other homes, that we should be mindful of what's already in existence.
Fair enough.
If I could add, I think complementary. So again, it's not that you're replicating what exists there necessarily. You may be bringing in elements of some of those homes, but that it complements it, and they're not screaming at each other from, you know, what already exists in the neighborhood.
I think, especially on Center Street, I mean, yeah, I think there's some excellent examples of residential architecture out there. And it's, we just want houses with some detail.
Gotcha.
We're not gonna say what type, because that's not our job here, and it shouldn't be, but, we want it well thought out, and because, this was the first flexible development approved in town. And, I actually, someone came up to me one time and said they couldn't believe that subdivision, we approved that, it was terrible. I said, well, what was terrible about it? And they said, oh, look at all those tiny lots. And I said, did you know the majority of lots in that part of town are smaller than those? And, like I said, the three, this was a great opportunity for a really diverse neighborhood of different style or different types of homes. You can get a little bit of everything in terms of scale, and user friendliness. Well thought out too, doesn't impede on its neighbors, but well thought out that it adds to the value of our town.
Yeah, and if I could add just one more, I think Greg said it with the elements and design elements, but homes that are worthy of the entranceway, where you've got this nice, right now, all the green, the tree-lined driveway or roadway into it. The houses should, again, add to that aesthetic.
I appreciate your insight. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, let's see, that was good speed. Next up, Queesit Commons, 15 Roosevelt Circle, Building B.
I'm going to recuse myself.
I believe that's our Mr. King in the audience. Oh,
I'm going to recuse myself.
greetings.
Greetings.
How are you? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So just before you start, so Doug, all right, so this is just a discussion. So we're not voting on anything.
Unless you want to.
No,
I think we
it-
can.
Yeah.
Nothing's-
no,
Tonight,
because it needs
No,
to,
it
it's a
needs to
hearing.
be, right, public hearing.
Yeah.
you've been voting pretty good, though.
Well, they filled out all the paperwork, so.
Keep it going, Doug.
Anyways, it's all yours.
So this is the last time, I think your last meeting, we were in talking about this building. And this is further along evolution of it. The main part of it's 4 stories. The majority of the building would be brick. Here are the different components that we're using. So it's the hardy board plank, primed and painted, Trex on the decks, architectural shingles, they're Owens Corning Colonial Gray. The brick is the same brick that we're using in the complex. And and the trim is AZAC, PVC. And this is, oh, the window frames go black. We're not sure whether we're gonna go black or white at this point. With the brick, the white might look better where there's so much brick in.
I'm sorry, is the green the standing seam? Is that what you said?
That was the, on the cupola, and there's
Yeah, and on that
some
little-
peaks that will have copper.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like how it's open.
Yeah, they,
Room.
so, looking at this elevation, the right side would be the Shoveltown Brewery restaurant facing the pond. And there'll be, I think that was one thing we were asking about, could there be outside eating there? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that.
Yeah,
I'll have to look.
I know Stoneforge has it, and I know
I wanna say.
the
Gosh,
farmer's
I wanna
daughter
say
and.
yes.
We
The farmer's
allowed it.
daughter.
Say
oh,
yes.
I noticed a peculiarity about the bylaw regarding like live music or something too, but I'd have to dig it out
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
It was
I think it should be something changed.
Right, yeah, yeah, so we could just get that done, but
Yeah, and then,
months.
this is the lot where there'll be a second building going towards Stoneforge,
Right.
and the garage is underneath where the gazebos and outside area is, the garage is underneath it.
I like it. I like it. That's nice. Nice to have, change it up a little.
Yeah,
Gives it some nice character, like the brick.
a little more expensive, but,
Yeah, I mean, I think just breaking up the buildings is gonna really kind of open that whole section up anyway.
Yeah, I think it's huge.
Sort of like the elbow almost like blocked off that.
Yeah.
sort of that
I even think the
side.
pass through in the building, that archway, that makes a big difference, because those
yeah.
buildings are so
it'll re-
long.
Yeah,
you know?
really make it nice.
I think to the human scale, make it more walkable. Start to get people to go around to commercial areas.
So, yeah, so when we have something to vote on, will we have updated landscaping?
Landscaping plan, if you go inside,
Okay.
you can see somewhat of a landscaping plan.
I was thinking, you know, on the, because the restaurant's going to be on the, sort of the, well, obviously, the side that you pointed out. But now that you know what the purpose of that area is, I was wondering how that would,
The surface where the garage is underneath?
oh, no, sorry, on the restaurant side.
No, we haven't, we've got to talk to the restaurant a
Oh,
little
well,
bit.
that's what I meant, right, yes.
Yeah. I would think it'd be pavers or something similar to that, and
Yeah.
part of it roofed.
And then you're holding the same distance from the edge of the parking lots to the front of the building
Yeah.
that was on the plan?
Yeah, so if you go to this site plan here,
Okay, right.
it's about halfway through. 4 or 5 pages in. And part of the restaurant will be for functions, so that they could enter either through that open
Oh, okay, yes.
arch or...
Yeah, no, you know, it was when I was going from looking at this right here to the back, just the, flip there for you. I was looking at that one compared to this, it just looked different, but I think that's just because of the way that
Yeah.
the architect did it,
Yeah.
you know, incorporate the exact site plan layout, right, yeah.
And to the right would be where you enter the garage, and
Yeah, yeah, I guess it's about the same.
we'll build a breakaway wall for the future building, that we can get into it.
And say, for example, on the site plan page, and just to figure out what we're actually gonna end up approving, on this site plan page, here are 7 parking spots here.
Right.
Now, the site plan page is gonna hold unless we submit a whole new site plan, right? So in that case, there'd be only 7 parking spots in that area, not those,
10 or whatever.
yeah, if those are parking spots,
6, 7, 8, 9, 8. One of them's got 10.
yeah.
I'm not sure which.
Oh, okay. But I'm just saying, when I go from this one, this looks like came from the site plan that we approved.
Yeah, two different guys.
Right,
One-
yeah. And then when I go to the picture here, I see a bunch more, so that's.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that.
Okay,
But I know two different people drew them.
okay, I figured that this is, you're still
Yeah.
working on this anyways.
Yeah.
I understand. In other words, it just looked like something right here was sort of missing from, the
Yeah.
connection to the original site plan and how that entrance would look if that's an entrance to the restaurant was what I was getting at.
No, I understand.
But seeing as we're still going down that road,
When we go to approve this, you're gonna do the whole building design, right? Not just the first half?
It's gonna
or-
be a two-phase,
Okay,
so say the building that you're gonna approve would be the west,
yep,
Building B West, and then
gotcha.
a couple of years later, Building B East.
How are you gonna build
Where's
that?
building?
Like,
Well, that's why
So-
both of them will have the same entrance
yep,
to the parking underneath.
okay, so you'll do that whole
So I'll
section.
do that.
Gotcha,
Building East, I'll build the wall, but I
Yep.
won't break through till I build the
Gotcha.
rest of the building.
That's freezing.
the first.
So this is just building B West,
Right.
and so you're not looking for a permit yet for building B East?
No. So it's really be two phases.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So I guess when you, and
How
forgive me,
many-
if-
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead, no, go ahead.
How many apartments are going to be in this one,
24,
in the west?
24.
28, 24, but then there's those flex ones that. But, 24, and then there's 5 commercial spaces, 2 flex spaces, and then 2 commercial spaces on the east side, and then 1 commercial on the west side.
So, again, how many residential units on the on the
24.
west? 24.
So what type of a submittal are we expecting when they submit their?
This is a modification. In looking at the regulations, in the bylaw, this is not a minor modification. Changing the building envelope is considered a major modification, which I think the minutes indicate that the chair made that statement at the first meeting.
No, we
where
were sort of questioning
Yes.
what it was. I was looking at the, the approval for Phase 1A, which I think this is part of, and it did mention it in there. I forget what it. So, and then 1A also included, some other things, but. As a major modification, that,
Well, but I don't know if,
I don't know if I.
I don't know if I agree with that interpretation. Are you talking, like when we talked about this last time? In the minutes?
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
thought, I look at this, whether it's major or minor, I haven't looked at the bylaw.
Yeah.
I just look at the reality of what we're looking at here.
Right,
And what I thought I said at the last meeting was, okay, this is the same footprint. It's,
Right.
now it's being broken into 2 pieces. But the road, as I recall, or I'm assuming, based on what Doug brought last time,
Yeah.
the roads, the flow, the traffic flow, the parking stays the same. Now, to Peter's earlier question, like on all these buildings, entrances, bollards,
Yeah.
the finer details probably get changed a little bit, especially where this is 2 halves. But
so
I don't know if I would think-
that's
I mean,
the
I don't
question
know.
for the board to decide, whether it's a major or minor, because if it's minor,
I think it's
it
okay with
does not
minor.
require a hearing.
And the,
If it's major, it requires a hearing.
the approval of Phase 1A stated, "The architecture of Building B and any changes to building design and materials shall constitute a minor change to Phase 1A." So if we just consider this a change to the
Sure.
building design, then that would be okay.
It's in the same
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
so
you were
it-
putting
yeah.
a road between the two halves,
Yeah.
or, or a roundabout, then I'd say, okay, that's a major, because it involves,
Yeah.
that could involve stormwater management, and safety and
Right,
traffic flow.
right.
But this is, yeah.
But in which case, I mean, I think we should see the proposed, site layout and building, incorporated into like a page of the plan that shows exactly where it goes and exactly which parking spots
Oh,
go
yeah.
where
Oh,
and
yeah.
where the landscaping is and where the bollards are and all that.
So I guess the question I would ask the board is, if you consider this minor, even
Yeah.
asking that when Mr. King comes back for the approval, that he show it on the site plan, on a site plan,
Yes.
that you vote that it's minor versus a major change, because again, the major change would require a hearing, and that's kind of like a 3-week lead-up to the board
I mean,
meeting.
as long as that's up to our discretion, it's not a legal thing, then, I mean, and all the other board members agree, it's, it's more minor than major. Yeah.
You know, Greg was here when the
Where
zoning
do
was
we
being
find the
adopted.
definition for that?
Well, here's the,
It-
Well,
if I could-
so it was 10 years ago, and we had lawyers working
Well,
on
we
it.
did
yeah.
look it up.
but having been here since when we wrote this bylaw,
He remembers exactly
Right.
what
well, we did, no, it was right, I was in this exact spot. We approved a master plan a few times for this, it's been tweaked. And without pulling out all the pages, there's been a few revisions because it's been 11 years, right? But, so building B was one sort of hockey stick shaped
exactly,
building.
yeah.
Right.
What Mr. King's proposing to do is just break that into 2 pieces.
Yeah, no, I
The same
remember.
But everything around it's same. So just like we have on all the previous buildings, that they're part of a master plan, and, it showed some side doors. But once the building once they got to the architectural level, and it was, door, entrances were defined, then there was tweaking to the site plan. That to me is minor, but there was tweaking to the site plan, but it's a level of detail that you need to give a building permit so they can go ahead and do it. But, so I think that's what, sort of what you were saying, that, when Doug comes back for approval with this, the site plan will be tweaked a little bit to address, to reflect this new, smaller footprint.
But I guess just for the applicant, so can you have your, your engineer provide a,
Site plan.
yeah, where this falls on the site plan, and then have the landscaping page, et cetera? Yeah. So it'd be like, maybe like 1 or 2 pages that we'd have to sign? Yeah. That
Oh,
makes
you
sense.
just don't want to sign on the paper, is that what you're talking about?
What? Does that make sense? I mean,
Yeah, no,
okay,
absolutely, yeah.
I mean, even on that last one, I would have rather just see a site plan showing all those funny changes, but.
So, are you okay with what he's asking for? You understand?
So are we a minor or major?
It's minor.
I think the board
I think-
feels, and
Stephanie says
I
she wants
tend-
us to vote.
That
Yeah,
it's
but not
minor.
tonight, right? We can't-
that
No,
it's
that's
a
a
minor
minor.
change.
Just that we're doing a minor.
Yeah, just
Can we
to
vote on it
show.
tonight? You want to
Yes.
do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you feel what's being proposed is a minor
Well,
change.
should we vote now?
Well, what'd you say?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
No, wait, so-
Unless-
And
We're not
I
voting to
agree,
approve
this
the
does
Yeah,
not
I mean,
look
to
to me like a major
me,
change,
again-
it's just the way that it was
And I
worded.
think what's more, and it might not be, this, again, like I said, this doesn't affect the roads, this doesn't check.
Right.
affect
No,
the
everything's the
drainage.
same.
Right,
This basically says, instead of doing this as a building, you're doing this as a building,
Yeah.
but everything else around stays the same. So
Right.
to me, that's a minor change. No sense creating all sorts of paperwork and work for the department for because this is within keeping of the master plan of this community. So, yeah, I'm fine with it being a minor, and
I agree.
So, do you guys agree? Or I guess we have to have.
Yeah, I agree.
I just think it's something you should, I'm
So
I'm
you
trying
just have
to
to
look
listen
it
to
up.
us, no.
I mean, I guess that's what I would.
Well,
have
I'm
to
trying
do.
to find
If I
it,
could
but
look, I mean,
it's just like.
what you're
looking.
saying makes sense.
If it doesn't make enough, yeah, but if you want some time to review it, we could do it just before,
I
at the
think
beginning of the next.
the question is
You
the
can just pull
building.
it up right now.
I'm
I just
trying.
want, yeah.
The building, I am, and it's not.
Because everything you're saying makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But you didn't understand, nothing can be just pulled right up with this computer system.
Fair, yeah, fair
So
point.
is that
Okay,
one
so,
table, or is that, if you
so,
cut 2 feet off, is it
Yeah,
2
no,
tables?
look,
Do you want me to read this?
I agree with you, but I'm a lawyer by
Oh, do you
nature.
want-
I
I
like
have
to
it
look
up.
at the
If
definitions.
Robert
That's a
wants.
problem.
So Stephanie has something she wants to share.
Well, if Robert was asking if I could find. So
Yes.
change in plans after approval of PAA. After plan approval, an applicant may apply to make minor changes involving minor utility or building orientation adjustments or minor adjustments to parking or other site details that do not affect the overall build-out or building envelope of the site. And it was the building envelope that I'm like, is that, do you consider
I
that?
wouldn't consider that, yeah.
So, and that's, I would agree. Otherwise, anything else would constitute a major change.
Doing it the way we're doing, there's less lot coverage. Because they're not connected here.
And then, so, and then
This is
major
gonna be-
changes is
Yeah, you're really just
anything
talking
else
about
that,
Ground floor.
the nature of the change in relation to the prior approved plan, or because such plan cannot be appropriately characterized as a minor change as described above.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess,
Be a
so
major
given
change.
the specific nature of the change, it seems minor. This wouldn't be one of those where, on the next phase, you say, oh, well, that one was a minor change, so this one should be a minor change too, because it's a case-by-case basis. So when we approve this as a minor change, that's not like, it's not as if
Yes,
we
we're
say,
just doing
anytime
this-
you break up a
we're
building
doing
or
this
make a
lot.
change, it's going
This
to be
building.
minor, right, yeah.
Does that make sense, Robert?
Yeah.
Okay.
Having said that, motion to treat the proposed change to the Building B design and layout as a minor modification based on the material already presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? That's 4 across.
Thanks.
So, you coming in soon with this?
Coming in 2 weeks, or 3, whatever. I
Okay.
don't know when you don't meet again till,
Our next
Yeah, I don't
one
know, 2 weeks. I
is
don't know when that
the
when's the next meeting?
Next meeting.
23rd. No, wait,
I thought it was the 15th.
15th.
Is it the 15th?
on the month.
Minor changes.
I don't think you meet again in July.
Yeah, 15th. I have it the 15th.
Yep.
Yeah, we were still meeting the
July
We got a new-
15th?
We got a new
Okay.
calendar.
I'm sorry.
right
We're
here.
still on for the 15th, right?
We are, yes, yes.
It's
Yep.
the 29th
So-
that got canceled.
Now that it's a minor modification, is it, what we have to get in, is it any different than
The board, what does the board want to see?
for the next meeting?
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. You
Ask
you
for-
can't show a plan with 10 parking spots where the other one said,
No, we're gonna
show
fix
8
that.
without putting it on a plan, and that's a change that we'd have to
That's what we
approve,
gave
right?
today.
Yeah, we need the site plan revised around the building.
Yeah.
Is
And
there any
then
more
we
detail that
need,
you
and
need
then we
on
just
the
need the,
architecturals?
we need the architecturals like we've had last time. You know,
Okay,
that level of detail, which
Yeah.
you're pretty much,
okay.
yeah.
And when do you need
It's a site
those
plan.
presented to you by? To come July, I know the meeting's,
them,
Middle of next?
a week before the meeting.
Yeah,
okay,
So that, because staff, especially because a lot of vacations this time
right,
of year.
right.
so 7,
What we
8.
don't want to do is get them Monday morning.
No, you need them by 7, 8.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
And just so, I just did do a scan through, and it doesn't talk about outside dining at all.
Oh, we need that.
The live music thing was strange, though. I guess that might have been for the.
I think that came up
arms.
at the last
Yeah.
meeting.
Oh, but it was,
Everyone
yeah.
mentioned that.
It was actually entertainment, live entertainment inside, not even outside. That
Live music.
was one of the rules to the.
Which one?
Yeah. One of
To
the
the-
permitted, oh, to the use table, that's
That's
what
in
it
the
is.
back of the building.
What
Yeah.
what it says is restaurant,
No.
Is that a
dining
note?
facility or
Yeah.
other establishment providing food and beverages
All they
with
can
no
do is-
live or mechanical entertainment is a necessary use. And in the
So do we
zone
request that?
A,
Well, there was a use table for the whole Queeset Smart Growth
Right.
Overlay
and there are
District.
3 subzones, and in
Yeah,
A,
you quick
restaurants
glass
and
of water.
dining's not allowed at all. The other 2 zones, it's allowed, it
That's how I
just
get
doesn't reference outside dining.
How do we get outside dining?
How
Request
did
it?
they get it for Stone Forge? They had to go to the,
Board of
was it the
Appeals?
Board of Appeals, or was it the? Yeah, that's what I thought.
So I gotta do that?
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Unless that's been,
Know it when I come back.
has that hasn't, no, that hasn't, has that been changed on a townwide level yet, or it hasn't? No, it's not, that's still the same way it is in the regular Easton zoning bylaw.
Yeah.
It's still a ZBA, yeah, right, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yes, okay. Remind Greg when he comes And Greg, Suzanne mentioned that you still need to vote for the continuance of 250 Boundary Street
Well, there's no time
as a
at the present. Who
formality.
feels like making a motion to continue 250 Foundry Street to our next meeting?
Motion to continue 250 Foundry Street to the next meeting on July 15th.
Second.
Any further discussion? Anybody in the audience? All those in favor? Thank you. Sorry, it's been a long day. I need to be silly. Meeting minutes.
Discussion, Lincoln
Oh.
Estates 2.
Okay, sorry, I thought that was just
The
the
revised
signature.
decision, sorry. Well, it is, but the board needed to vote to adopt it. We made the changes that were suggested by Mr. Stetson, and the deeds are now included in the decision. So they're referenced in the decision. The deeds each talk specifically to the ownership in the way, as well as the responsibilities for maintaining the stormwater management components.
And
And
have you seen
I
them?
did look at them,
Okay.
yeah, and I was satisfied by them.
New guy's got a lot of power. I like it. That's good.
For whatever that's worth. Let's put it
No,
that
not
way.
much, but that's good. All right, so
It
we're
was helpful.
so we're good to go. All right. Do we need to take a vote on that? I guess
You
it's
need
a
to
revised
vote
decision, right?
because it's a revised
And
decision.
did that include the culvert too?
Yes.
Yeah, the big one, I mean? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm all
You've
motion-
gone for a record number
I'm
of
all
motions.
motioned out.
I'll make a
You're all motioned on
motion
it?
I've carried this a few
to
times.
approve Lincoln States 2.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All right. Minutes. Minutes.
I had a few moments to thoroughly read them when I was
I
outside.
bet you did.
And they look good to me.
Suzanne, get ready. There's going to be a lot of typing. Yeah, she was killing time out there.
Yeah.
so. I never thought of- that's a good idea, bringing the minutes over.
No. Yeah. We could read them before the meetings at some point too.
Just a
That
suggestion.
would get us. I mean, we don't have to have a speed reading contest to see,
Well, I will honestly say, I
see who
read
can
them,
actually pick out a detail while you speed read. Yeah.
I review them before we send them out.
I decided
I do
Suzanne
sometimes.
has quite a
Yeah, I usually read it.
talent for
Does
synthesizing
he?
all of the verbose commentary that we have into a very simple
really does.
sentence.
I like to wait till
I was
everyone's,
like, oh, that's all I
And
said?
till everyone's
Okay,
around me
good.
to read. I don't like to read them alone.
So I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Okay, board reorganization, board representative appointments. So, a couple of things here. Currently, I am the chair. Peter's the, what do we call you, the clerk? That's what it's called in the book, I think, the clerk. And then we have, planning board has a seat on the CPA committee, Community Preservation Act Committee, and on the Capital Planning Committee. Well, why don't we deal with chair and clerk first?
I'm happy to share the clerk job with someone else if they'd like to do it for a while. But I'll be happy to continue as clerk as well. I don't want to hoard it.
Yeah, same thing he said,
Wanna hold
especially
it.
the second
Yeah.
part. No.
So is this something that we motioned for?
Or do we
Yeah,
vote?
we motion one at a time. Yeah, or can we do them together? Two separate.
Well, if someone wants it, yeah.
Have made them.
Yeah, or someone, yeah, so you make any kind of motion you want. So that's,
I'll make a motion for Peter to continue on as clerk.
Second.
was that a second?
Go for it.
No, Chris
I will second
All right,
that.
all those in favor?
I was
All right.
nervous there.
Motion passes. I have no problem continuing as chair, but.
Motion to appoint Greg as chair.
Second.
Hey!
What, you're going to do a speech?
There's a motion. All those in favor? It's always weird. I guess I can vote for myself. Okay, so I'll talk, so CPA, in most years, I always say that I always say, you know, CPA is it's a tax on, it's a tax surcharge.
It's a surcharge.
And then it's backed up, it's matched to some degree by the state. It used to be 100%, it's down to 14%, 15% this year maybe.
Yeah, it's-
We've done lots of great things in town with it. And I've been lucky enough to be, I've been on it for a while. I'm the vice chair. I've been on it probably 7 or 8 years, and I don't mean to monopolize that. It's always open. But this is the first year I would say, just because Stephanie and I'm kind of from the citizen end, I'm kind of spearheading a refocus on this. We're going to have an event in September called CPA Reboot, just because when it came into being 18 years ago, the community's changed quite a bit since then. You know, a lot of younger folks. So this is 1 year. I would just ask. I'd like to stay on it for at least a year, just because I'm kind of, like I said, I'm kind of involved in this, and I'd like to see that to its fruition. The capital planning.
Is it capital planning or
I've
capital
never
budget?
understood.
Is it the capital budget or the capital?
I think it's
planning?
capital
Capital
planning.
Planning Committee.
And so I think that's why it's a state thing, and that's why there's planning is on it.
No, so it's interesting, and actually, the planning board member can provide some input because they'll know like, sort of like some of what's the background to some of the you know, like say like the Five Corners sewer, things like that.
Right.
But at the same time, I would actually like to share that position with someone else. If
Yeah. Well, that's what I was trying to get to.
my wife transferred jobs from, you know, she used to work in Norton, but now she's in Providence. So it's just when the kids have sports games and things, it's just, you know, there aren't that many meetings a year, but at the same time, when you add that with everything else, then it's, you know, it becomes a little burdensome.
So when you go to town meeting, they talk about capital improvements, and maybe it's an ambulance, or it's new plows, or a sander, or a rooftop unit for a school.
Or
so it's budgetary.
I think from the planning board perspective, it's what Peter said. It's the infrastructure
Well,
that
it's
you
items
might
over
wanna weigh in.
10,000
Yeah.
or 20,000.
Yeah, but it's not just,
Yeah.
you know, because I did it for 5 years or so, and then I was.
Yeah. So it could be new computers for the school, or it could be
I coached Peter into
$1 million
doing
sewer project.
How many meetings is it currently?
Maybe like 5 or 6.
5 or 6. So Peter did express, you know, like he's like, hey, he wouldn't mind, but I understand everybody. So I told him, I said, well, you know, we have to have a member there. If someone can't step up or isn't interested, then
Yeah, I can still.
then I guess I get to go back. Well, no, I mean, because you have the wife thing,
Yeah.
you know, so the wife thing, you know, the situation. So, but I'm by no means, having done it for 5 years, and being on historical as well, I'm not looking to get on another committee anytime. So, but if, you know, as the chair, that would become my responsibility.
It's two separate things. So motion to reappoint Greg as the CPA, right? That's the one,
Yeah,
the first
CPA
one, CPA
rep, I guess.
representative.
Okay, second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Now, if they were a volunteer for the capital planning committee.
I'm super swamped with my remainder of testing, so
Any
I
interest over here?
cannot consider anything else.
No pressure, guys. We all have our lives.
Not at this time.
Want me to take it? I can take it. It's not gonna fall. to you.
I mean, it's something that I would be interested in. It's just this year is very
No,
difficult
I
with a
understand.
1-year-old at
So,
home.
I'll-
If you
I
guys
mean,
split it,
I'm
could you just decide like which
I don't
ones
think
you
we
do,
can.
or
I don't
can you
think
not
we
do
can.
that? You
I
can't
don't
have
think
two
we can.
representatives?
Oh, yeah, I don't, you know, where it fits, hey, we're a team here, we're gonna have a new member soon. I understand that Peter can't do it. My kids are gone, or, you know, have moved on. They're still with us, but. So I do, I mean, you know, I don't mind, I feel bad.
I feel bad giving you the
We've
work.
got,
too,
yeah,
at the
it's
same
okay,
time.
well, you know, but it can be, you know,
Yeah.
next year. I mean, it's like you said, it's 5 years, so
Yeah.
I'll, if someone wants to nominate me,
I'll-
thank
I'll
you
nom-
endlessly.
I'll move to nominate Greg for that position.
You can't nominate
I'll
yourself.
second it.
You can. You
Yeah,
can.
I'm glad he did. Yeah. All those in favor? Motion passes. Okay.
Did you say there's a new member in the works?
Well, there will be. Yeah, I mean, you know, Wayne's, he submitted his resignation.
yes,
Was it
yep.
this week? Was it Monday? It was
Last-
21st,
Last
22.
week, I think.
And I know of someone who was interested, so I called said person and just, well, I mean, anybody at home can put their name in, but yeah, so I know of at least one person, that's interested. And I'll talk to you after the meeting. Probably shouldn't put it on TV. I imagine that violates some sort of open meeting law, if I haven't already. You always know you're in trouble when the lawyer's looking away.
How was that?
Like he wants to read the Easton Makes Top 100.
Let's move on here.
So anyways, meeting minutes, chair's report. So as we talked about, so Stephanie and I met with
Judy Barrett.
the other day from, is it Judy Barrett Associates?
Yep.
And you guys know, so we sent, so we just, we both know Judy, we've worked with her, Stephanie more, but we've worked with her a lot. And had a good, just kind of talk about what we're doing and reconnected. And so we have the meeting coming up on the 23rd?
The 23rd, instead of the meeting that was scheduled for the 29th.
And so when you think about that meeting, so what we're doing two things. She's working with us in two phases. And one is the village business, mixed use for the village business district, which is sort of downtown Old Easton. And then, so I guess really the same thing, I would say, for the Five Corners district, where we both in the last couple of years started working on both these areas. And then last year at Five Corners, we just kind of pulled back because it was a little more complicated than we had time for. We said, let's do the Foundry, the compact neighborhood zoning. And then over here, same thing. Remember, we were working on Queesit, Smart Growth, and this, and they weren't very parallel, and just for time, so we said, so we'll start working with her at that meeting. So, any thoughts you guys have in terms of, we are the appointed reps for zoning, right, in town. So just, when you start to think, okay, well, the types of buildings. What do you think? How should we deal with, questions like what percentage should be residential, what percentage should be commercial? Should we have anything like that? And how much do we want to preserve for economic development? And what does that even mean with the ever-changing retail, right? So, but now with sewer coming, so that, anyways, what do you?
Right. No, I was just going to say that what Judy's going to be doing is developing the questions that will help the kind of the guiding principles for developing the zoning and figuring out what the right kind of mix of zoning should be in the districts. And so I think like Greg said, what do you think should be there? I would recommend that you take a look at the, if you haven't already, the feasibility study that we did for the District Improvement Finance Program for the Five Corners. It's available online there's a link to it from the planning department page. And take a look at the charrette. We had a charrette back in September, kind of get an idea from the residents in the district and business owners what they thought it should look like. You may or may not think, you may agree or not with some of the ideas and thoughts that people had and want to bring your own to the table as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just guess I'll say at the outset that, we sort of, we have the town pays for sewer in order to, promote economic development, and then you sort of get stuck in a situation where you feel like you have to have residential to pay for the sewer, and you hope that the residential, the new people that live in town, want to spend more at the, the businesses that you build, but it's sort of, you have to sort of get to create the right balance, whereas you're not just depending on residential to pay for the sewer because you built a sewer, otherwise it sort of misses the point, right? So it just seems like it's very tempting at certain points along the line for to go in that direction.
Right, but that's why in village business we, and we were strict with it.
Yeah.
In fact, on this project here, that it's 2/3 commercial, 1/3 residential, because we wanted to, when we wrote that bylaw, we were thinking economic development.
Oh, yeah.
And in that case, like 138 and 106 are our sort of main thoroughfares.
Well, that's why I just reiterate that feeling, looking at Five Corners, which is a bigger area, we have more on the line there.
But then the question, but the interesting question is, okay, so let's say you take that tact, I think, let's just say, I'm not saying you're saying this, but, okay, it should be heavier commercial than residential. Then what? Okay, what kind of commercial? What, because commercial's
Right.
changing so much.
It's
Retail,
hard too, right, yeah.
retail really is changing, and people say services, but I'm like, okay, but what does that mean? Because we already, I mean, I'm assuming we've reached our saturation point for nail salons, and that's not a knock on nail salons. It's like Dunkin' Donuts. We've got a lot of them in this town.
Yeah, so I guess the question is, so how does your proposed residential, how is it going to support your, any commercial or, tax-based growth, really? I mean, or are you just doing, to make sure we're not doing residential just to pay for the sewer, not,
I'm assuming
not
it's,
to...
I think it's
yeah.
walkable neighborhoods, and
Yeah.
I think it's food.
Yeah. I mean, the goal is...
America doesn't cook anymore,
The
right?
goal is economic growth,
I think it's
right?
food.
Yeah.
Well, are there any models that have been discussed? I mean, in terms of other towns or anything that this board has found appealing, or that maybe came out of the study that I will look at, but I haven't
Yeah,
yet?
I think if you go, I think about like Somerville, and that's gone through a major, renovation and revitalization in their downtown areas. Oh gosh, I can't remember exactly where it was. It was, again, another community outside of
Maybe like
Boston.
more along our lines, like Foxborough.
But a lot
also,
of the,
along the Easton line,
what
right?
people
Yeah.
really seem to,
Yeah, I mean, I
they're
just
looking
think
for
Somerville's kind of tricky.
experiential type retail, which is, it's like an experience, because again, the social structure that held people together in the past, where you had small towns and people walked everywhere and you were outside of your cars, and we didn't spend so much time on electronic devices and on-demand television, watch whatever you want at home, that people still feel that need to socialize and getting out, and they're doing it through retail type experiences. I talked with one of the owners of iGolf, and they only operate during the winter months, because during the summer months, people who golf want to get out and golf. And they said their first year, and I haven't talked with them after this past winter, so I want to go back out, but they had families coming in, and not all the family members enjoy golf. They're not all golfers, but they came out because it was something to do. It was entertainment. And people were asking, gee, what more can you do? Can you do something during the summer months, some kind of entertainment? So, that's something that is getting talked about a lot in the economic development workshops that I go to and hear and listen to people. And that was a lot of what we heard in the visioning session too, the walkable community like Greg was talking about. But what does that mean? What are you walking? Well, we want entertainment. We might want outdoor concerts, taking advantage of the open space, which is not commercial development, but people might want to walk to an outdoor concert and have a picnic or bring food with them. So that's some of what we're hearing and the differences.
I think one of the, especially when you look at Five Corners, it's a small district. We're not talking. So in some ways, and it's unique. It's actually kind of fun. So you think, all right, well, what? And I don't know the answer. I try to think out of the box. Okay, what? Up near the Foundry, we always hear about the green. We have the green emerald. The walking paths of East.
Yeah.
What do we used to call the green? But the green necklace, or there's, we talked with Rick Lincoln about his property having parking and access out there. And you've got with the ponds up there, and the Mass Bay Trail. Right?
Bay Circuit
Trail.
Trail.
It heads off that way. So okay. So can you do anything with that? Can you tie into that? Not that that's a giant money maker, but is it a draw? We always hear about the 4,000 acres of open space that we've preserved in town, and access to a lot of it happens down there. So maybe is there something along those lines? Then there's I'm assuming we're going to see 1, 2. I bet you'll see 3 or 4 restaurants in this district, because one of the things, I think you see in Easton, I think we're going to see a little restaurant boom, both down at 138 and here, because it's been held back for years because of sewer, not having sewer. And now that we have it, and like I say, retail has changed so much. It's not going to go away, but what form is it going to take? And then, yeah, maybe it'll be, some you hear this next generation, a lot of experiences. They always want, and maybe I brought up an example of Somerville when we met with Judy, and Judy said, yeah, wouldn't you love Somerville's density? Of course. So a lot of times there's maker spaces, but even over in Norwood, there's that factory that they've done over, and there's a brewery in there, and there's some maker spaces, and a little bit of everything. So, I think if some of these developers could come up with just a blank palette of some space, maybe they just need to think. They start to need to think outside the box a little bit instead of having that vacant storefront where they just put it for lease up. Because who's coming? Maybe they can come up with some creative ways to use those spaces. So I didn't really say anything, but I don't know. We're just at I think retail is changing so much right now. So it's really fun from a zoning standpoint. It's like, hopefully we can get it right, but maybe we can. We're not talking that many sites. We can almost look, when we sit with Judy, especially when both these districts, you can almost zoom in and say, okay, well, like down at 106, is there any way? Remember how there's that road that comes in behind CVS and then it goes to where Walgreens was?
Yeah.
And I'm like, so does that make any sense? And maybe it doesn't, I don't know, but does that make any sense to continue all the way down behind all those properties? So that you always talk about consolidating lots,
We did a site walk just before the visioning session, Deb, Greg and I, and we were standing there. And of course, vehicles were using the Walgreens as this cut through. But what was funny is, I think it was, I don't know if it was Deb or Greg, it wasn't me, that just said, gee, this is kind of cool. You might have, and it may not be large enough to do this, but like an alleyway that was kind of a walkthrough for people. And you'd have maybe different businesses within that, even just that small space.
Yeah,
and aggregating spaces.
How long has that
because you look at-
Walgreens been
that was only open for like 2 or 3 or 4 years. Right?
It's been closed at least 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it closed shortly. I think it closed
I was gonna
shortly
say
after
5
I
years.
started.
It didn't open that long.
No, it was
Yeah,
around 10 years ago. Walgreens,
yeah.
they closed.
It closed shortly after I started working here. Yeah.
Is there anyone considering doing anything with that lot now that the...
They want a huge number for it. But a lot of people looked. They want a
Is that
ridiculous
what's going
number.
on?
Really?
Yeah, especially because when you consider that building, it's kind of tough. What can you do with it, right?
Yeah, and it would actually be better. Can you aggregate some of those lots and then either do infill or redevelopment there?
Right.
Really do
It's
something different?
it's every so often, and I can think of one in different ones, but every so often you see communities that connect those lots with those businesses with a separate smaller road. So it's just a parking lot, but it's
Right.
properly designed. And it's really beneficial to those because you can see, if you pulled in, if we had you pulled
Right,
into
you-
one,
right.
you're not necessarily
And you-
gonna-
and you
that road's open,
eliminate
there's already
some
so
of-
much traffic, you're not going
Right.
to necessarily, but if you can, get down the back there.
Yeah.
And, so, anyway, so it'd be fun to work on anyways. It's fun to do a little long-term planning, right?
Is there any business studies that the town has?
Yeah, there is one. But it was for Queeset.
Queeset, we just
Yeah.
did a Queeset.
I think if you looked at that
if
could
you-
almost
the
apply
economics
to
of-
Friday.
But even look
Yes.
at the master
And
plan,
we're
there's
very
quite a bit of
similar.
information on,
That's right.
that's only 4 years old, 5
Right.
years, 20 years using the
Right.
Walgreens clock.
Right.
No.
But unfortunately, the business study,
You know what I call that, Greg? Warped old people's time.
Exactly.
the business study for Queeset though didn't come up with a lot of. We have plenty of liquor stores.
There's a lot of good
It was like
information
a
out
furniture
there.
store was one of the ones, but that's obviously a really tough one, right? Yeah.
But
But there's
Right.
there's no silver bullet either. No, I mean it's not
Right.
like a study's going to say, oh, you need.
what are we
you need,
missing?
well, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
yeah, right.
Do we have stats on the businesses, commercial businesses that are in Easton, like what their profit margins are, how long they've been in
Oh,
business,
that's,
or
No, not profit margin.
yeah.
But
And that- and
look at the
that's-
master plan, there's a
Yeah.
decent sized section in there with some stuff. But but look at Queeset Commercial. Now, Ed Walsh, I don't know his genesis of buying that property, but I know as soon as he was preparing to purchase it, or thinking about purchasing it, he contacted this department, this building, and this board, and look what we ended. And we'd gone through it. We'd worked quite a bit on it, and then we tweaked last year a little bit because at first we were like, okay, no residential, it's all business, but to make such a large investment work, we thought, well, and we have there is the school there, and you look how look how Queeset Commercial has evolved, or Mr. King's Queeset Commons, so what we call it, all these Queesets, but so doing all this planning ahead of time, I think pays off, because look at what we just approved tonight. I think that's the most exciting project, most substantial project in quite some time in this town, and I think it's going to
Really
it's
make
going to
a
really
difference. It
ignite.
should make a
It's gonna
difference.
ignite, because I
Make a
mean,
big
you can just
difference.
you don't need to be in planning to know that whenever the next wave of development comes, when 123 is full, it's going on 138, and certainly 138 could use a beautification, and that hopefully will ignite it. So, anyways, I'm officially just babbling at this point. I know you all want to get home to your fine families.
All right, shall we adjourn?
We're all good? Everything
July
else, Stephanie?
15th meeting, potential planning director absence.
What was that?
Yeah, but you're going to be here, you said.
Oh, no, yeah.
I already carried that.
Yeah.
That was
Sorry.
part of the omnibus shared report.
Okay.
All right, who wants to bring us home?
Who's taking on that new responsibility?
No one wants
Make
to.
a motion to our meeting adjourn.
Second.
Okay, could you work on that a little bit? All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, Easton. Thank you, ECAT.